What's going on, YouTube? We are back with episode 11. I know I said I was going to drop a series of prepping videos, but that will be coming straight after this one. But being that I already had this one done, I decided to go ahead and get this right back out to y'all. So this is a 2024 Lamborghini Huracan. So that is two-tone. The black is at the bottom and the orange is at the top. So this is a rocker that goes on the side of the car. And I'm going to start off by spraying the black first. Now, the reason why I'm spraying the black first is because it's the only thing that's on the car that gets sprayed black. So I'm going to go ahead and put down a foundational coat using G Black, which consists of 407, 409, and 37 parts of the 392 reducer. So basically, this foundational coat right here that I'm laying down is a very, very potent black, which is going to help me for my first and second coat of coverage with my regular base. So I don't show it in this episode because I just try to do my best to condense it down as much as I possibly could. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and get the black sprayed, cut the booth on bake, get the black completely dry to the point where I can tape on it. And then I'm going to lay down I'm going to go ahead and tape it up, then go ahead and put paper all over where the black is, and then lay down my fine line. So then after I go ahead and spray the orange base and pearl, then once I get all that done, then I can just peel everything and then clear everything at once. So like I explained in previous episodes, it's very, very important that whenever you're painting, that your paint is completely dried up before applying additional coats. The reason being, if not, then basically the paint, putting layers on top of wet paint, all it is going to create little blisters in the paint. And so when you're putting the other layers, like the clear, the 2 coats of clear, and then once you start putting the heat on it to bake it, to get it dried up, it's going to blister. So you always want to make sure it's completely dried before applying additional coats. So all together, what I'm going to have on this rocker, this black piece right here, is just my foundational coat, which is my G Black, my first coat of actual black for this particular rocker, and then my second coat. That's it. Now the spray gun that I'm using is a DV1 by DeVelvis, and I am spraying at 13 psi. And with this particular spray gun, I do spray with a 1.2 fluid tip. 13 psi with this spray gun is all you need. I know a lot of people say, "What? Like that's a very, very low air pressure," but I'm telling you, it'll be something that you have to try in real life to understand what I'm saying. And then when you're spraying silvers and things like that, starting off with 13 psi, it kind of gives you a little bit of room to go up in your air pressure if your color is going a little bit too dark. You know what I mean? So, like I explained in the previous episode of the ID4. So, yeah, I'm spraying 13 psi with a 1.2 fluid tip. All right, so I got my rocker all nice and based up. It's taped up. It was a little difficult laying that fine line because of the way that it was shaped in between. It was like a little bit of a groove, so I had to finesse it with a razor blade and just pull the fine line and lay it down as I was pressing down with a razor blade. All right, so what you see me now doing is basically tacking off this rocker. I do that to everything I'm spraying, and I only do it before I start spraying, and that's it. I don't tack my base at all because the tack rag can leave streaks in the base, so I only tack one time. And basically what that does is get off any debris or any dust that landed on the panel to ensure that I can get a clean, nice paint job. All right, so this particular 3-stage orange calls for G1 as an undertone. So with my DV1, I have a base coat version I'm going to lay down in all the areas covering up the repairs, and then I have 2 fenders that I'm blending. So being that the doors are going to line up with the fenders, I will spray a little bit of G1 on the edges of the fenders so everything can match. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the title of this episode. The title is "What is the worst that could happen?" Well, I'm gonna tell you, and you're gonna find out as you continue on with this episode. Now, before I get into it, I also want to say that as a painter, you have to learn how to persevere throughout whatever is going to happen or whatever happens in the booth as you're spraying. Because once you start spraying, pulling that trigger, you got to learn how to, figure out certain things if you're faced with it, how to get out of certain situations, right? So while I was spraying this, first of all, this is my first time spraying a three-stage orange Lamborghini, by the way. And for two, the booth, I was having a lot of problems with my booth. So the booth kept shutting off midway of me spraying, and then so all the overspray just in the air, landing on the panels, and then not only that, I ended up getting something in the door as I was clearing, and once I started clearing, I noticed it, and I got it out. So the job, as you will see in the end, will turn out nice. And the only reason that it does is because I stayed calm through the storm and I did not panic. I just kept pushing. I kept going. Now there's a part in this, and I think it's on the second coat that I had to cut off the camera because I had to figure out exactly what was going on. I had too much. What was going on is I had too much pressure in this booth, and I tried to turn it down, but it still just kept doing the same thing. It kept kicking the doors open, and if it wasn't kicking the doors open, then it was turning the booth off. And all in all that kept going through my mind was, why on this particular car is all of this happening? You know what I'm saying? And it caught me off guard at first, like I was spraying and then I noticed that the booth cut off, but the door didn't open up. So I'm like, why is the booth cutting off? So then I went out, turned it back on. Next thing I know, I'm in the booth spraying and the door kicks open and the booth cuts off. So, I mean, we got through it. I figured out the root cause of what was going on. And, but like I said, throughout all of that stuff that was going on, I just kept going because that was the only thing I could do. You know, this is a really, really nice car, and I wanted to do a really, really good job on it. And I did not know that that was going to happen. But I thought that this would be a perfect episode to explain and to go through the different things that a painter goes through on a day-to-day and how to persevere through it. All right, so using my iWater base gun, I'm going to be laying down a wet bed using T490. And all this is clear base coat. So I'm going to lay this down nice and heavy. And then I'm going to take my DV1 with my regular base and blend into the clear base coat. All right, so once again, this is a DV1 that I'm spraying with, and I'm spraying with 13 PSI. And this being the first coat, I'm not looking to get 100% coverage on the first coat, but I'm spraying a nice, even, uniform coat on the first coat. All right, so um, I will say PPG is one of the best as far as color matching goes, as far as blending out colors. I've been spraying this for the last 8 years. And I will say, whatever you're spraying, just learn your product. Learn what you can do and what you can't do with the product that you're using. A lot of people, what they will do on the first coat is go super, super heavy. And all that does is causes problems because once, like I stated before in previous episodes, I don't like to sand my base at all. So if I'm going excessively heavy, then I'm basically, running up the chances of me getting a run in my base coat, which means that I would have to sand my base coat to get it out. And I don't want to do that. So the first coat, no matter what color I'm spraying, my first coat in my mind is a foundational coat. I'm not looking to get 100% coverage. Now, do I want 100% coverage on the first coat? Would I love that to happen? Yeah, I would like that to happen. But I know that with some colors that's not the case. So the first coat in my mind is always just my foundation. It's just the coat that I'm laying down. I want it to be nice and consistent and uniform. And then when I come with my second or possibly third coat, then that's when I'm looking for coverage. So always just whatever you're spraying, focus on learning the product. Educate yourself on the product that you're using. That way, you can know the do's and the don'ts. All right, so being that I've never sprayed this color before, it being a three-stage orange, I wanted to keep it on file as a reference if I ever had to spray this color again. Also, if my color started, not blending out the correct way, then I can go ahead and finish out the spray out and then try to, figure out a way to finesse it to where everything is nice and blended and uniform. So whatever I do to the car is what I will be doing to this actual spray out car. So if I have two coats of base and three coats of pearl and a control coat and then two coats of clear on the car, then that's exactly what's going to be on that spray out car. A lot of people are getting away from spray out cars because they're just wanting to get the cars in and out and then, facing problems periodically. And I mean, I like to do spray out cards, mostly just because I use them as good references. And then also when you're trying to get a blend from the insurance companies, it's good to have those on file so you can say, like, for instance, the color Nissan has a color called KAD. It's a gray metallic color, and that color has a lot of different variants. So it'll be helpful if you ever had to go to an insurance adjuster and say, "Hey, um, y'all have me replacing the hood and not blending the fenders, or y'all have me replacing the fender, painting the hood, but not blending the door." And so if I have 10 spray out cards on this particular color, then they're more likely to be like, oh, "Okay, I understand." You know what I mean? So a lot of times they don't understand, but that's just some extra added insurance to where you can go to them and say, "Hey, this color has 20 different variants, and I know for a fact that it's not going to match, so I have to blend." And that's, surely they would understand because that's the whole process of blending. You blend so everything can match and look uniform. Now, I will say that PPG is one of the best when it comes to color matching. I've been spraying this for 8 years, and I stand on that. Periodically, yes, I have color problems, but for it to be 8 years and not be often, I stand with PPG on that. So shout out to PPG. If y'all want to, hit me in the email, we can get something together. I wouldn't mind having my own paint suit. So shout out to PPG once again. But back to your regular schedule program. Right now, I'm just going through, making sure that I'm fully covered. This is 2 full coats of the regular base, and I have to make sure that I'm covered before I go ahead and start laying down the pearl, making sure nothing looks transparent. Now, I did not get in this footage of me spraying, blending into the fenders, and I think spraying the passenger door, and that's because that's when the booth first shut off, and it caught me off guard, so I had to stop filming and go out and tend to it and troubleshoot it and try to figure it out. So all in all, I do have 2 coats over everything in the booth with the base coat. And so now I'm about to go ahead and switch over to my pearl. All right, so I'm ready for my pearl, but I'm actually going to switch back over to my base because a lot of times when I'm painting, I make mental notes of things that need to be done that I missed, and I forgot that the edge of the door needs to be covered. It's a little transparent. So you're going to see me switch over back to my color, go ahead and get that covered up, and then go ahead and start laying down my pearl. As you can see, I was just about to start laying down my pearl, and then I was like, oh, I forgot. I got to go ahead and get that covered up on that door, and then go ahead and start laying down my pearl. Very, very important on colors like these, because a lot of times they can be transparent, but look covered. And so when I was checking with that sunlight, I saw that and noticed it, and I was like, okay, I need to go back and dust some color in right there. Very easy to miss. Even though I angled my gun in a way that I thought it was getting covered, it still wasn't covered. It was transparent. So all I'm doing is just dusting it in, trying to get that transparency to go away. And as you see me waving my gun, I'm not actually blowing base. What I'm doing is I'm just using my spray gun to get it dried up. So like I stated in previous episodes, one of the things that makes you stand out as a painter and as a prepper is attention to detail. You have to always make sure you pay attention to what you're doing. Like on this edge right here, had I missed it, then I would have had to respray it. And every painter's goal is to only have to get into something one time. Get it right the first time. It'll save you a lot of time and money. And that's why I have a routine. I have a routine that I follow. I come in the booth, I do the same thing, and then occasionally I add to that routine, but I only add to the routine what's going to strengthen my routine. And as long as I'm following that, I will get the same results every single time. Paying attention to detail, making sure I'm cleaning every panel the correct way, making sure that there's no burns that I need to blow color or dust a little color over. So that's all a part of paying attention to detail. It's all a part of painting. You have to pay attention. And that's why I'm going to start a prepping series. I'm going to start out with 5 episodes on prepping different cars. Hopefully I get a couple of trucks in there. And basically I'm going to run through my process and my routine on how I prep cars and get them ready for paint. All right, so once again, I'm going to go through. I have 2 coats over everything. So before I start laying down this pearl, it's very, very important that I make sure that all of my paint is dried up before I go ahead and start applying another layer of paint. So this rocker right here has a lot of body lines, and a lot of times it will appear like it's dried up, but between the grooves and everything, it will still be wet paint. So that's why I applied a little bit more air to it to make sure it was completely dried up. All right, so laying down my 490 wet bed again. And this is clear base coat. So the first and second coat was just regular base coat with 0 metallics. Now I'm about to start laying down my pearl. So I'm gonna lay down my pearl exactly how I did my first and second coat of my regular base, with the same consistency. All right, so notice how I'm keeping my color, or keeping my pearl away from the hood and away from where the bumper is going to meet up with the fenders in the front. I don't need to have no pearl up there because I need everything to match once everything is reassembled. So that's the whole process of blending. You want to blend in the areas where everything is going to line up, but the areas that's going to have other things line up that you don't have any material, you need those to still match everywhere else. And just like I did on the fenders, doing the same thing to the doors, and I'm going to start laying down my pearl. So when you land down your pearls, it's very important. I know I keep reiterating it, but it's very important. It's very important to keep the same consistency. The reason why is because it will help you once it's time to lay down the control coat and to alleviate the blotchy or mottly look. If you lay down those metallics right the first and second time, then all the control coat, or some people call it a drop coat, all that's going to do is just do what it's supposed to do. Fill in all those pigments that are not filled in, and then you're not going to have that motley look. You're going to have everything laid out nice and uniform. All right, so once again, the booth shuts off. Now, being that it already shut off on me a couple of times earlier, um, all that's on my mind is go ahead and get this finished and then go figure it out again. So I know overspray is in the air from me spraying, but I have no other choice. I have to get this done. So once again, I'm going outside of the booth, shutting everything completely off, restarting it. And I mean, that's pretty much all I can do at this point. I have to get this car completed. So now I'm making sure everything is completely dried up. And everything seems to be dry for the most part. Touch my tape. Tape seems like it's dried up. So now we're ready for another coat of pearl. As you can see, my color is blending out nice and smooth. Now, one thing with this color, I will say, I was kind of freaking out at first because the as I started laying down my pearl, I'm like, man, I can see where I'm stopping my blend at. But this color has so much of a flop that it flops like you can see where you stopped your blend, but you really can't. And so I mean, I can't tell you how many times after I cleared this car that I kept going in the booth and just checking and looking, and I untaped everything and make sure that it's still, my fenders matched my hood. And then I looked at I untaped the whole entire car, the rest of the car, and then I started noticing that everything else was flopping just like my fenders was flopping. And so then I was like, okay, I'm good. And I'm not gonna lie, man. I was in the booth, did my little dance. I'm like, let's go. I mean, it's a good feeling when you're ready for clear, when that color that you thought it was gonna be a pain turns out to be the opposite. I know my painters, my real painters, they can relate. And especially when spraying something as nice as this, you want to do a good job on it. You know, you want to sign your name. Every paint job that I spray, I consider it. I look at it like I'm putting my name on this car. This is my work, so I want to do a good job. No matter if it's a Lamborghini Huracan or a Pinto or a Toyota Corolla, and the paint is fading and the color's really not going to match, but it doesn't really matter. I have to spray the car. No, whatever I do to anything, I want to do a good job on it. I want to sign my name on it. Like, hey, Auto Picasso sprayed that car. You know what I mean? And so I would, urge y'all to do the same thing, have the same mentality. Whatever you do, make sure you do it well. All right. So before I lay down my control coat, I'm going to lay down this 490 one more time. And the reason why is because even though I had 490 there before, once I start laying down my control coat, I don't want those metallics to be landing in a dry area. A lot of times, what can happen is when those metallics are just building up in that same area, it will cause sand piling, which will make your paint a little darker in that area where you tried to blend your color out. And so the only way to fix that is to kind of bridge it. So I would have to get my regular base again, start basing over those metallics, and then start laying the metallics over that, which would mean that my color would be further than I would like it to be. And if my color's further than I would like it to be, then I take the chance of my panels not matching. So it's very, very important that, I lay down that wet bed and then start laying down my control coat. And I will have a formula for my T490 wet bed and the G shades that I use on a daily basis. Now, I want to explain something with my control coat. A lot of people, they call it a control coat, they call it a drop coat. Now, I mentioned with my DB1, I spray with a 1.2 and I spray at 13 psi. Now, a lot of people drop their air pressure when doing their control coats. With this particular spray gun, I spray at 13 psi, and that's what I do my control coat at 13 psi. And so I don't have any problems. Everything goes on nice and uniform. Now, I will say, let me reiterate, that is just with my DB1. Just with my DB1. So if I was spraying with like say an eye water, with my eye water, I probably would drop my air pressure. We're not going to talk about the dance I just did either, though. I was just hyped up because everything is looking nice. Everything is looking like it's ready for clear. And the clear coating is the best part about this job. Seeing the way that, the clear lays down, and especially on something as nice as this car right here, man, y'all gonna see. Stay tuned. And I think it's dope that when I was little, I had a whole Hot Wheels collection, and I used to have cars like this. So just to be in real life spraying, painting cars like this is very, very satisfying, especially after everything is put together and you look back and be like, man, I did that. You know what I mean? It's really cool. All right, so everything is nice and dried up. And now it's time for me to peel this fine line and this paper. So as you can see, I'm gonna start getting everything untaped, and I'm gonna start pulling my fine line in one direction. The reason why I do it that way is so that my paint doesn't rip. So remember, this is a two-tone rocker, and if I'm not mistaken, it goes on the passenger side. So I don't want the paint to rip. So that's why I made sure the paint is completely dried up before I start peeling, but I'm peeling in one direction. And as you can see, the paint is completely dried up, especially on the bottom. And actually, that was the first thing that I sprayed, so I know it's completely dried. So actually, I can start on this side as well. If I was taping up on the orange and then peeling my tape, then it would be different. But everything is dried completely, so I'm able to pull that without it coming up. So very, very carefully, I am taking that paper off And now I can go ahead with the fine line and continue to move in the same direction, even though it's dried up. Still want to be careful because very, very annoying when you have to go back and add a little base to something that you already did two-tone. And I know I said I only use the tack rag one time before I start to do anything to the car. But being that this was two-tone and it was taped up, and I never know what was on that paper, if it was any lint or any dust or anything like that on the paper. So I will tack off that black one more time, just very, very lightly, because I want it to come out nice and clean. So I don't want to put any streaks in it, but I also want to just make sure that anything that was on it is off. And remember, when you're using those tack rags, they have a little bit of film on it, and it's designed to pick up any debris or any dust. So you always want to be careful. You don't want to press down when you're tacking off. You just want to just barely wipe off whatever panel that you're tacking and, move forward. Now, okay, again, here's where attention to detail comes into play. Now, being that I sprayed metallic on the orange part, even though I had the black taped up, I checked with that light just to make sure that there were zero metallics on the black, because I need that black to be solid black. And I needed to make sure that there was no metallics that seep through the fine line onto that black. Like I explained before, what you do to the car, you want to do to the spray out. So exactly what I did to the car is on that spray out card. Now, with my iWater WS400 with a 1.3 fluid tip, I'm about to go ahead and land this plane and go ahead and start clearing using EC530. The flash time on this particular clear is 8 minutes. So what I usually do is I go in the booth, I lay down the first coat, set a timer. Being that I'm in a controlled environment, I set a timer, and then once that 8 minutes is up, even though it's 8 to 10 minutes, I usually wait 8. When that 8 minutes is up, then I go in and apply another coat of clear, and then I let it flash for another 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and then I go ahead and bake it at 165 degrees for 30 minutes, anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes. Now, as you can see, I'm keeping the same consistency throughout the whole panels that I'm spraying. Every panel that I'm spraying has the same consistency. And I constantly have to check my air pressure, just because sometimes with the air compressors that we have, we've been having a little bit of a problem with the air pressure. So it either fluctuates up or down. So every time you'll see me periodically check my air pressure just to make sure that I'm clearing everything with the same consistency by using the same air pressure. All right, so everything is going on nice and smooth. Everything is in sync. But you're going to see here shortly that the booth is going to cut off once again. And I'm not going to lose my cool. I'm not going to lose my composure. I'm going to persevere through it all, continue to push. Like I always say, keep going. And that's exactly what I do. I go ahead and finish everything, address the problem, then come back in the booth and continue to do what I have to do. So periodically, as a painter, these are the type of situations sometimes that we face, and you just have to be able to continue to push through until you're able to figure out something. So on something like this, I don't have the time to go out and try to, take a lot of time, because I'm already laying clear on this car. And I can't have my clear longer, sitting or flashing, setting up longer than 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes. So I got to move. Once I go ahead and lay down this first coat of clear, as I'm letting it flash, I have a little bit of time to try to, reset the booth. And I have to, because all the overspray is already in the air. And I don't want to continue to have overspray just laying on my clear and, creating more trash or dust in my paint. So, look, it shuts off. But we keep going. Hey, I'm gonna continue to move because this is what I gotta do. But one thing that I did notice, I think the door opened up this time. So I have to move a little bit. I had to get this done so I can go ahead and close that door because I don't want anything from the outside coming in. So you no longer hear the booth running. So that means that being that this is a downdraft booth, nothing is pulling down like it's supposed to right now because the booth is shut off. So I speed up a little bit and then I go ahead and go fix the problem. Turn the booth back on. All right, so on this second part of the second coat of clear, I am speeding this up a little bit more, and the booth is going to shut off again. The door is going to open up. Something's going to land in my clear. So that's why I named this episode, "What's the worst that could happen?" And y'all going to see the finished results. Stay tuned. right, so now for the final walkthrough. The car is all reassembled, all put back together. If you look at it, it flops in so many different ways. The quarter panels, even though I did not spray them, they look light and then they look dark. And all over the car, that's just how the car flops with this particular 3-stage Pearl. And it's pretty cool. I mean, once I go around to the hood, you're gonna see it's gonna look light on the hood. It's gonna look dark on the fenders. It's gonna look dark on the fenders. It's gonna look light on. Look, if you pause it, you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. But everything laid out nice. Everything is nice and uniform. All my metallics are good, and I'm very, very satisfied with this job. But right now, I just want to take the time to express my gratitude. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And if you already did, I appreciate it. Thank you. And like always, stay humble, keep going, all gas, no brakes.